were made. And it would have been just as hard for him to believe in a virgin birth as it is for us, yet he reports it as fact. Number 2, Luke was a painstaking researcher, i.e. Rob, who based his gospel on eyewitness accounts. He recorded his first in the first 2 chapters. This is Mary's story, not a fictional invention. Let's see. Number 3, Christians and Jews who worship God as the creator of the universe should have no doubts that God has the power to create a child in a virgin's womb. Going back to the beginning, Genesis 1:1, right? God spoke it into existence. How do we know that God spoke it into existence? How do we know that God was related to the Word? Well, 1 John is in the beginning, the Word was God, and the Word was with God, right? Because Jesus is born of a woman, he was a human being, but as the Son of God, Jesus was born without any trace, any trace of human sin. Jesus is both fully human and fully divine. Why is that? So I've said a long time ago, you guys believe there's a difference between knowing something, right, and truly knowing something. I know something about babies, right? But I don't truly know about it. I've not experienced it, right? When you truly know something, you have experienced it, you've invested time, you've experienced it. The reason Jesus was man and divine, so that he could relate to us, right? Because he is God, he has the power and the authority to deliver people from sin. People can tell Jesus all their thoughts, feelings, and needs. He has been where they are, and he has the ability to help. It's hard to help someone if you have no clue what they're talking about. It's hard to relate to someone if you've not been in that situation.
I think it's, in his case, I mean, he could have related to us either way. We needed something. He said Jesus, we could relate with him, not the other way around.
Well, true. So, getting back to Mary, her question, right? How can this be? I don't think it was Mary's doubt, Mary doubting God's ability. She questioned how it could happen, right? Details, like you said. There are times in our lives with honest about God's plan, how God's plan will unfold. Do you ever find yourself in that situation? Asking. I'm not calling on you. Eyes got real big. Looked right at me. All right, looking at the verse again, what parts of Gabriel's declaration point to Jesus as Son of God? Well, Gabriel says through the Holy Spirit, right? He'll come down upon her. God would overshadow her.
35 says the Holy Child. So if we identify holy as set apart for God, then the Holy Child would be God's Son.
Exactly.
Back up to 32, he says, Son of the Most High.
Okay. So let's consider something. So we know that Jesus is a descendant of David. Yes? And if God had promised David that David's kingdom would last forever, the promise was fulfilled in the coming of Jesus, a direct descendant of David, whose kingdom will never end. Why is it important for people to know that Jesus was the Son of God?
I'm sorry, say again?
Why is it important for people, us to know that Jesus was the Son of God.
Because then it's just not some other prophet?
Okay?
It's not just some guy that went around doing good things?
I think she's sleeping with her eyes open. Yeah. Okay? How does his identity, God's identity, give us clues about why Jesus came to earth? God calls you, and he says, hey, whatever situation you're going through right now, he says, this is what's going to happen. How do you respond? Okay, that's a good one, yeah. We find ourselves sometimes questioning details, right? Though we probably shouldn't, we just natural, right? Well, Mary has now been told by Gabriel what is to happen. So she has a choice. She can either fight it, or she can make a commitment to follow God's will, right? Verse 38 said, I am the Lord's slave. Mary said, may it be done to me according to your word. Then the angel left her. I don't like that version. Slave interpreting as servant, right? Somebody willing to be obedient.
Mine says bond slave.
Bond slave?
So like, you would strike a bond with somebody, so like indentured servitude.
Right, okay. How is obedience and humility? How is obedience and humility connected? Can't be obedient if you're arrogant, are you?
No. Yeah, you can.
Can you?
I think so. I mean, if my dad told me to do something and I was obedient to that and I did it, but the whole time I'm like, look how obedient I'm being. Look at me. My obedience is better than your obedience. That's arrogance, yet obedient.
Mm-hmm.
I think ideally the two, humility and obedience, should show up together. That's the idea, but I don't think they're necessarily exclusive to one another.
Okay, okay,
I mean, I think that's the goal.
sure.
Humility can drive obedience.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So, what is the purpose of today's lesson? Well, the last 3 weeks we've been talking about Isaac, Jacob, and Esau. We've been talking about the promises that God has been making towards all three of them, or actually two, Isaac and Jacob, okay? We've been talking about how God made the promise to Abraham, which then followed through to Isaac, Jacob, and inadvertently Esau, because it was a descendant. We're talking about promises kept. All the Old Testament speaks to what? The coming Messiah, right? If you look at all of the stories and how things kind of play out, you see that the coming Messiah is coming. There's hope, right? This week we're talking about how the promise is kept, with Christmas just being a couple days away. I mean, it's kind of fitting, right? I've never understood exactly how the lesson plans always play out, because when we get the lessons plan, typically it doesn't talk about. I've never had a lesson plan that if it was Christmas, it would fall on Christmas. We're always like 6 months to a year behind as to what they might be talking about. But again, going back to the promise, God always seems to make it work, right? So So if we were together, I know this was kind of a long class of me talking, but if you were together, everything that you've just read, if you were to take away, what would it be? First off, God takes the action, okay, to provide the way of salvation, okay? Agree? What's that?
Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid, okay? Because, right, okay?
I think it's interesting and kind of cool that, like, Mary's not chastised for asking questions. Like, it's okay, we can ask God questions. Like, how's this going to happen? How's this going to go down? Where do I need to be?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you think I have the right heart attitude around it, but, like,
Sure.
it's okay to question. She asks, the angel answers.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a good takeaway with believers, even current believers, right? If you're really down and out and you find yourself in a real trialing time, maybe we don't ask God for certain things because we fear that, you know, the answer will be no or what. If we don't ask, then we don't know. Meaning, if you don't ask for details, if whatever cruise we're going on, what have you, then I'm not going to know, right? Do I wear, you know, a parka, or do I wear boarding shorts? You know what I mean? That would be really. We go on an Alaskan cruise and I'm freezing my tail off because I'm wearing shorts.
I would prefer to go to work.
Yeah, that would
I guess.
get pictures. All right. Yeah, I don't know. No. I'm a doer, and it would be really hard for me to do something on a cruise.
Like see stuff that you're never ever going to see again in your lifetime.
Well,
That's super.
I mean, you can't. What?
How about you stay home and have.
Have you? Okay, for as long as you know me, have you ever seen me do a crossword puzzle? No.
You can pick up new hobbies.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have like things to do.
Shuffleboard, man.
Shuffleboard.
I'm thinking this is quickly turning into a ladies' cruise.
Done.
I'm thinking you're right on the nose. He wants to go too.
I'm in.
You have to dress up though. Wig and tutu and all that stuff. What's that?
They'll be all playing.
Well, if it's a ladies' cruise,
Yeah, the kids aren't going.
I love my children. I don't want to subject them to that.
All right. So, in the end, we're talking about promises. Okay? This topic or this title of this week's lesson is The Promise Kept. So, with Christmas just around the corner, what can we do? What can you do this Christmas to keep the focus on Christ? So we had talked about, what was the initial question? Right. What is your favorite Christmas decoration or tradition? What are some Christmas decorations or traditions that help you keep the focus? Piled this list, right? So what can we do to keep the focus on Christ? All those things.
I think the easiest thing that takes the, I mean, if you want to reverse engineer that, then what do we do that doesn't keep the focus on Christ? So, like, over-commercialization of Christmas is huge. You know,
Mhm.
we're all, I would imagine all of us fall prey to it to some degree or another. So how do we keep focused on Christ? Don't get over-commercialized in the societal, cultural kind of idea of Christmas.
Mhm. How many of you see traditions that you would like to take on or add to whatever you do?
A bunch of those, I mean, the first one's like watching the Elf movie. So, I mean, you're spending quality time with family.
Mhm.
So that, you know.
Well, and for us, it's, I mean, I'm the one that said that. For us, it's a special commemoration of the first day we met and our first date.
Mhm.
We went to the movies to watch that. So we share.
Look, I did anything and everything I could just to
Yeah,
get her.
Had to spend the whole day with
somewhere.
He concocted a group plan of everybody going out to the movies.
I mean, yeah, yeah, anything, right? I mean, how much is it going to cost me? I don't care, right?
So we share that.
The only time Nathan has ever said that.
He said that.
Yeah.
So we share that with our kids, you know, that's a special, our kids wouldn't be here had we not had.
Yeah.
that
Well, you know,
time,
it's interesting. So, talk about promises, okay?
so for Will Ferrell.
Talk about promises, okay? My grandfather was he was a good man. He pastored this church for a number of years, and he literally was my everything, right? So, learning about God growing up, understanding the promises that he made, it was interesting. But also to see the promises that Grandpa would make, right? He told me, he says, you know, you'll find the one in church. Come on, get out of here. You know what I mean? There ain't nothing good in church, right? I hear all this stuff that you keep telling me, but yet it doesn't line up with what I want or what I like to do. Well, later, he just kept telling me and telling me and telling me, and lo and behold, I came back. Came back to church and realized, well, obviously I had missed the point. The point being is that with God, all things are possible. So, some years, and I'm sure most of you heard this story, but she attacked me in church, and I knew that. No, she didn't attack me. No, it was one of those things. It clicked. It clicked, and I had found the one. The promise being that my grandfather said, with God, all things are possible. God said, with God, all things are possible. You'll find that one. So, you know, how do you feel when somebody keeps a promise? Respected, excited, you know, overjoyed. Yep. I'm lost for words now. I don't know what to say. What? Definitely. Definitely.
Not irritated.
Not irritated. But anyone have anything else? You look like you have something to say.
I do on this way until everything's over because it doesn't pertain to our lesson.
Oh. Well,
It's an
there you go.
activity.
There you go. Well,
It's an activity idea
You want to
for,
say the prayer first?
yeah.
Before
Sure.
we all just first.
Carl, would you be so kind to close this?
Thank you so much for the promise that you kept in sending your son for us. This sacrifice you made in that, and the joy you've given us all, and the hope that you've given us all. Just ask that you be with each and every one of our families this Christmas time. Help us all to remember collectively and individually what that means and why you did that and what we can do to repay you. Or just show you that, reflect that love back towards you and towards those around us. Just ask for your blessing on Pastor Keith this morning as he's talking about your word and sharing it with us. And just help us all have a great Christmas season here. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Sort of an activity idea for a class.
Uh-oh.